Alright, in exercise 5, like I mentioned, we are modeling both a bookcase and a clock as part of your textbook. So we will get started with the bookcase. Here's just final product for reference for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So open up a SketchUp, a new file here. And step number 1, we're just going to make a block. We'll draw a rectangle that's 48 inches by 24 inches starting at the origin, with 48 inches being along the red axis. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm typing R to bring up the rectangle tool. Starting at the origin, it should snap for you, and that dialog box is going to pop up that tells you you are indeed at the origin. Remember, I can either kind of start my rectangle and type in those dimensions that I want, or I can finish the rectangle and then go type in my 48, 24, enter. Oh, that's much bigger than I thought. And there you are. And then we'll use the push-pull tool to extrude the rectangle up 72 inches. So I'll type P on my keyboard to grab push-pull, grab this surface here. And again, I can either start my extrusion and type 72 to make it go up to 72, or I can just click to finish, immediately type 72, enter, and it'll bring up that 72 inches. All right, we've got the beginnings of our bookcase. Now for step 2, we're going to make a shell, so the space inside of the bookcase. We'll offset the edges of this front face inward 4 inches. So I'll grab the offset tool, hover over the space that you want, click to start it and start to pull inward, then type 4, enter, to give us 4 inches all along. And then on this bottom line here, we're going to pull that up 1 foot along the blue axis. So I'm going to select the line that I want to move, hit M on my keyboard for move, and then pull that up, making sure that we are indeed on the blue axis. It'll turn that blue dashed line for you to let you know that you're correct. It'll be more like a black line if it's not quite on that axis, so just make sure that you are snapping to that blue axis. Type 1 foot, enter, and that should be pulling it up 1 foot. And then we'll use the push-pull tool to extrude this inner rectangle back 1 foot 10, so we're creating some space inside of our bookcase. So I'll grab the push-pull tool, or you can hit P on your keyboard. Grab this inner surface here and start to push it inward into the bookcase. And we'll type 1 foot 10, enter. Now you should have a little shell. And then we're going to select everything and make it a group. Yes?
People, how to make, like on the blue axis, how to move it up.
Yeah. I'm just going to hit Control Z to undo a bit here. Alright, so you're at this point where we've offset the 4 inches everywhere. I'm just going to grab the bottom line here, select the Move tool or hit M on your keyboard, grab my line and start to bring it upward and type 1 foot 10, enter. Got it?
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I'm sorry, it was just 1 foot, not 1 foot 10 for that one.
To push it in?
Sorry, to move the
Pick it
line
up.
up. Yeah.
Up 1 foot, okay.
Yeah, that's just up 1 foot. And then this inner surface here is what we're push-pulling 1 foot 10. And then we're selecting everything and making a group. So remember, you can either drag a selection window over everything, or you can triple click to grab everything that is connected to each other. And then right click and make group. Making this a group will make it so that anything that we continue to model from here on out won't get stuck to your bookcase. So we're avoiding that stickiness here by making the bookcase shell a group. Otherwise, we're going to have a little bit of issues with doors trying to pull the bookcase and all that stuff. So definitely utilize groups to help you. Okay. Now we're going to make a shelf component. So we're going to build a couple shelves here inside of our bookcase. I'm going to start by creating a rectangle that's just the same exact size as the bottom of our shell here. So I'll grab the rectangle tool or type R on your keyboard. And you'll see that my dialog box is letting me know that that there's a group. I'm not going to be affecting that group by modeling outside of it. So I'll just start my rectangle and make it the same exact size as what I've got here along the bottom. And now you'll notice, even if I triple click this surface here, we talked about triple clicking is going to grab everything that is connected, but since I made my bookcase a group, even if I triple click here on the rectangle that I just built, it's not going to grab the group for me. So we just want to grab that rectangle we made, and we're going to make it a component. So right click, make component, and we'll call it shelf. And just make sure that replace selection with component is indeed checked. And hit create. All right, now we're gonna bring the array tool back in. So we're doing a linear array on our bookcase here so that we can create more shelves inside of our bookcase. So we have kind of a limited amount of space to work with here. We know the starting point and we know the end point, and we want to create a few copies equally spaced between. So in that case, we're going to grab our initial component here. Don't double click into it, we're not editing it, we're just going to copy it. So just click once on it. Hit M for move, Control for copy. And I'm going to copy this shelf to the top here of the shelf because that is going to be my furthest point away. So I'm going to grab it, copy it up to the top here, make sure it snaps to that end point. And then we want to create 3 shelves in between. So that means I need to hit \4, so I have 4 total copies, and enter. That's simple. Yeah, it's really nice. You don't have to do any math, you can just let it go. So now I've still got that original, and I've still got this furthest one away here, but I now have my 3 equally spaced shelves in between. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete that first and last copy, because we don't need shelves where our bookcase is already at. Do we want to go over that step again? Yep, okay. No worries. Yes?
So when you copy it forward, does the bottom one get deleted then?
It does not, it stays there. We are going to go ahead and delete it because we don't actually want a shelf there, but it will stay there.
There's like 2 of them?
Yeah, you'll have the one that'll be left down here and the one that'll be left on the top, and then there will be 3 copies in between those 2 points. So let's go ahead and look at it again.
I think she's asking because we put 4 in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're specifying the total number of copies. So the original is not included in that number, but even that last one that you put in, that number is included in your total number. So we typed 4 because we want 3 equally spaced, and then that last one is the 4th one. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Okay, let's go over that again. I've got my shelf component made down here. I'm going to copy it to the furthest point away, so the top of my bookshelf here. So I'm hitting M for move, click Control for copy, grab this endpoint here, copy it up to the top, and then \4, enter, and you'll see those 3 copies made between, 4 total copies. And then we'll just go ahead and delete that first and last one so that we're just left with these 3 in between. Okay, step number 5, we're just going to edit these shelves a little bit because we're not actually going to have a single plane for a shelf, so we need to give them a little bit of depth. So I'm going to double click into one of those components to open up its editing box. And then using the push-pull tool, so I hit P on my keyboard, I'm going to extrude the surface up 2 inches. So I'll click once and start to bring it upward, and you'll see that all of them are changing with me here. That's why we made components rather than groups. And then type 2, enter, and that should give you a 2-inch thick shelf. And then we're also just going to give what will be our doors here, we're going to give them a little bit of room. So let's pull this front face of our shelf back 2 inches as well. To enter. So now we've got some thickness, and we've got a little bit of room here at the front. And then close out of the editing box by going back to your select tool and just clicking somewhere outside of your component. Good so far? Do you have a question? Okay. We're on step number 6. We're going to add a little curved apron. So if I look at our final product here, we're going to add this little curved portion here. So, to do that, I need to be inside of the bookcase group. If I were to just go in here, I'm not inside the group just yet.
No.
If I were to create an arc here, and then I tried to, manipulate it, it's not going to work because SketchUp knows that my bookcase is inside of a group, and I've just modeled my arc outside of that group. So I need to make sure that I'm double-clicked into that bookcase group. And then we are going to activate the arc tool. You can type A on your keyboard. And then we'll grab both of these front bottom endpoints here. That'll be the length of our arc. And then we'll start to pull the bulge up. Make sure you're going along that blue axis, and your little dialog box will tell you that you're on your face. So you're not pulling, in any other direction. It lets you know that, yep, you're good to go right here. We'll bring that up 9 inches, so type 9, enter. And then we want to get rid of this space here where we just created that arc. So we're going to grab the push-pull tool, P on your keyboard, click once on this area and start to pull it backward. And then if I swivel around here, and if I just kind of use my inference engine to snap to this back face, I'll click on that face, it should disappear. Yeah?
But it's not letting me do the shelves. It's not letting me.
Okay, are we all at this point? We all have our little apron here. Okay. What's next? All right, close out of that editing box. Just come back to your overall here, and we're going to move on to step number 7. Start making our doors. So we're going to make one door. We'll make it a component, and then we'll copy it to the other side. So make sure you're not inside of any of your groups or components, you're just back in your main model space. Grab your rectangle tool, hitting R on the keyboard, and we're just going to draw one of these doors. Now I'm going to start on the left side. We'll start at the top corner of this kind of shelled out space, and we'll bring it down to this bottom midpoint. And SketchUp should snap to that midpoint for you and let you know that you've hit the midpoint. And then once you've got your rectangle here, go ahead and double click that, right click, and make a component. This one we're going to call a door. Alright, and then let's go modify this door a little bit. So double click your component to go into the editing box. And we're going to give it some thickness. So grab your push-pull tool or hit P on your keyboard. Grab your rectangle and pull it out 1 inch. 1, enter. That gives you a little bit of thickness there. Step number 8, we're going to add some fanciness to the door. So we're going to be creating these offsets here and a little style here in the middle. So you can really do this one of 2 ways. The way that, let's do it first the way that I have it written in the exercise. So we're going to use the tape measure tool to create guidelines that are 4 inches inward from the door's edges. So grab your tape measure tool or hit T on your keyboard. And then grab anywhere on your edge, just not the end point. So we'll grab somewhere here in the middle, start to pull it inward, and type 4, enter. And we'll do that to each of these edges. Grab the line, pull down, 4, enter. Until you're left with guidelines 4 inches inward from this door. And then we'll use the pencil tool, and we're going to draw along the entire length of the door along the blue axis. So we'll start at the very top where our guideline intersects with the top edge of the door. It should tell you you're at that intersection. Bring it all the way down, and then do it for the other side as well. And then for these in between, we're just going to go between those 2 lines that we just created. So we'll start at the intersection, bring it across, start at this intersection, and bring it across. Then if I were to delete my guides just so we can see, this is what you should be left with. You've got these lines going all the way up and down, and then you've got these 2 lines going across. So it's kind of like if you've got wood pieces to assemble your door, you've got one long piece of wood on each side of the door, and then we're just filling in between the smaller pieces of wood. So that's one way to do that part. You could also use the offset tool if you'd like practice with your offset tool. You can grab that, hover along the face that we want here, click once, start to move inward, type 4, enter for that 4-inch offset, and then we can just use our pencil tool to extend those lines up and down. Whichever way you prefer, I don't care. This is what it should look like when you're done. Okay. And then, let's see here, now we're gonna put that middle part in here. So, we'll start at, yeah,
How do you remove the guidelines again?
if you wanna delete all of your guidelines at once, you can go up to Edit and Delete Guides.
Oh,
If you find yourself where you just wanna delete one or two guidelines, you can just use the eraser tool on them. Alright, so for our middle rail here, I'll use the pencil tool, typing L on the keyboard to pull that up. And I'm going to start at the midpoint here of one of those lines that ran across. Starting at the midpoint, pulling it up to this top midpoint. Again, making sure that we're snapping, we're seeing that blue axis line. And then we're just going to give that a little bit of thickness here. I think it's about 2 inches thick here. So I'm just going to copy it 1 inch on either side. So grabbing that line, and remove, Control for copy. I'll copy it 1 inch to the right. And 1 inch to the left. Gonna grab your eraser tool or hit E on your keyboard and get rid of that center line. So now you've got a little strip of wood going down the center. Then if you didn't already, go ahead and erase your guidelines. And then exit your editing box here by going back to your select tool. You can just hit space on your keyboard to go back to your select tool, and then click outside of the component. Now we're going to copy this door and flip it. So we'll grab the component, don't double click into it, just grab it, click once. Use the move tool, Control for copy, and I want to be at this corner here, so I'm going to grab the corner of my door, start to pull it over, and snap to that corner. Now, it won't be obvious yet, but we're going to go ahead and flip the door so that anything we do to our original component on the inside is also going to show up on the inside of this copied door. So we'll start to, you'll be able to tell once we start editing the door a little bit more. But go ahead and select this copied door that we just made, and then hit your flip tool. And we're going to flip it along the red here. I think I put green in the assignment, but it should be red. So you probably won't notice a change just yet when you copy it, but we'll see if we did it right once we start adding handles and infilling that glass.
How do I, when I move and copy, the center lines are not included? Do I just click it, the triple?
Okay, let's see that one more time. So let me go ahead and delete that. So you're not inside of the component. You're just going to click the component once and remove. Control for copy. We'll grab our endpoint here, our corner of the door, and pull that over to meet this corner. And then we'll flip it. Grab the flip tool. And then I want it to flip on this red. So I click that red axis. Did you get figured out?
I just can't get it to align.
Okay. We're going to move away from the the doors for just a second, and we're gonna build this little trim piece that's up here on the top of the bookcase. So let's go into the bookcase group. So double click on that bookcase to open up its group. And we'll use our offset tool here. We're going to grab that, find your top surface, click once, and then we're going to offset it 2 inches outward. So start to pull it outward and type 2, enter. That should have given you a new face along that outside offset. And we're just going to pull that new face up 2 inches. You should be left with that little trim piece. Alright. Back to the doors. I don't know why it jumped around a little bit, but we're back to the doors. And this is where we're gonna bring back our materials that we just learned about today. We're gonna put some glass in the door so you can see these little 2 panes of glass in each door. So I'm gonna double click into one of my door components, come over here to my materials, or hit B on your keyboard to bring them up. And I'm going to use my drop down here. I'm looking for glass, so this folder called Glass and Mirrors is a good one. And you can really choose whichever glass you like. I'm going to go ahead and grab this translucent glass blue material. And once I click on it, my cursor will turn into that paint bucket. And then you just click on those surfaces. So here's where you'll tell if you flipped the door correctly. I went ahead and painted just one of these, and you'll see that the inside one is also the one that turned blue. So I did flip my door correctly. If you painted this surface here and this one turned blue, you just need to go back and flip this second door. So go ahead and make both of those your glass. And then you'll notice that the blue color is there, but I can't see through it. And that's because we still have that back face of the door. And it's still that default material, it's still showing up white. So SketchUp is seeing through the rectangle, but then it's stopping where that back face of my rectangle is. So, we just need to fix that. So go ahead and click out of your component, go back to this main modeling area, and I need to be able to see the back face of my door. To do that, I'm just going to rotate the door open. So select one of your components here, type Q for the rotate tool, and let's see here. See, it's doing that flippy thing here. So I'm going to find the blue axis. You can type up, use the up arrow on your keyboard, and then hold down shift to keep that locked in place, and now it's not going to move around on me anymore. I'm going to grab this back corner. That's kind of where your hinges would rotate from. So that's going to be the center of my rotation. And then I'll just click an opposite end here and start to rotate that open. I'm just going to open it 90 degrees so that I can see. So I'm typing 90, enter. It should have rotated open for you. And we can see the back face of our door now. So, to be able to see through this, the way that we kind of work around it is I'm going to double click into the door, and I'm just going to hide this back face. So I select it, right click, and hit hide. So it doesn't necessarily delete it, it's just hidden. And now, if I go back around and look, I can see through that glass now, because that back face isn't there in the way.
What was the shortcut to make it the blue hint?
You'll type up, the up arrow, that'll bring it blue, and then press down shift to make it lock. And then I'm just gonna move my door back into place. Select the door, Q for rotate, and then just rotate from that same place we did before. So I'm hitting the up arrow to find the blue axis, holding down shift to lock it into place. Find that rotation center, grab the opposite end of the door, and rotate back into place. And now I can see through my doors.
Go back a little bit until the first rotate one more time. I think I need to click onto the axis.
Sure thing. Yeah. Okay. So don't go into your component, just click once to select it. You can hit Q on your keyboard for rotate. If you're not already in this blue axis, hit the up arrow, and then hold down shift to lock it. And then I'm gonna go find my point that I want to rotate about. So I'm gonna choose this back corner here, because that's kind of like where your hinges would be for a door. So click once there, and then click to specify your opposite corner here. And start to rotate out, and we can type 90, enter, to open it up that 90 degrees. And then we double clicked to come in, select the back face, right click and hide. Close your editing box by selecting outside of the component. And then I'm going to rotate it back into place. So just select your component, not double click. Q for rotate. On that blue axis, holding down shift to keep it locked. Grab that same point that you rotated around initially. Grab your opposite corner. And rotate back into place. You can hit 90 again. Put it back where it was. Yep. Okay, we're almost there. All we need to do now is add our little doorknobs. So we're going to double click back into one of our components here for the door. And then we're going to create some guidelines to be our center point of the doorknob. So grab your tape measure tool, you can hit T on your keyboard. And we're going to create a guideline 2 inches inward from this kind of middle edge of your door. So grab that line, start to move inward to enter. And then from this bottom edge down here, we'll grab that one. And move up, let's see here, 2 feet. So 2 foot, enter. And that will be the center point of the doorknob. So we'll activate the circle tool by clicking C on your keyboard. And then snap to that intersection there of your guidelines. Click once to start that circle. And then we're going to specify a radius of 1 inch. So hit 1, enter. And then we'll push-pull that circle out. I hit P on the keyboard. Pull it out 1 inch. And you'll see that since we flipped that door, this doorknob is in the center. And then delete your guidelines by going to Edit, Delete Guides, click out of the group, and you're done. Yes.
What was the measurement for the horizontal guideline?
It was 2 feet. 2 inches inward, 2 feet up. Okay. I feel like we need maybe a 5-10 minute break before we move on to the clock. Or do we just want to push through? We're pushing. All right. Okay, the clock should go by a lot faster. So, we're just going to work in the same file. Avoid having to open up 2 separate files to grade your work. We're just going to do it all in one. Okay, so the first thing, clock's on the wall. We want to set our view so that we're looking straight on as if the wall or the clock were on the wall in front of us. So it'll be a little bit easier if we're not modeling in kind of this 3D space here. So we are going to set ourselves up to be looking dead on at the front of the model. So we'll do 2 things. First, we'll set the view to look at the front. So if you're like me and you've got your little houses here, you can just click on the one that says front, and that'll bring you to the front. If you don't have your little houses, go to Camera, Standard Views, and Front. And then we've still got a little bit of that perspective view. So we're going to change it so that we're kind of dead on, it's more 2-dimensional. So go back up to Camera. And perspective is probably checked right now. We're going to change it to parallel projection. And so whenever I do that, you see that I'm now looking at it in more of a 2-dimensional view. I don't see any depth. Okay. We're going to start our clock kind of over here to the right of our bookcase. And we're going to create some guidelines to find the center point. So grab your tape measure tool, I'm hitting T on the keyboard. And just like we can pull guidelines out from lines, we can do the same thing just with our axes here. So we've got the blue axis coming up here. I can just click on that blue axis and start to pull away, and it's going to create a guideline for me. So this one is going to be 6 feet over from that blue axis, so I'm going to type 6 foot. Enter. And then we'll do the same thing grabbing the red axis, pull that upward 5 feet. So type 5 foot, enter. You'll have a little intersection here. I'm going to grab our circle tool, type C on your keyboard, and starting at that intersection, you see that SketchUp is snapping to it for me. Start your circle there, and we're going to specify a radius of 1.5 feet. So type 1.5 foot, enter. That's a big block. All right. Select your circle and all of its edges. You can double click it, or you can do your selection box, whichever you prefer. Just make sure that you've only got your circle here, nothing on the bookcase. Right click, and make group. Okay, we're on step 3. We will make our hour mark. So don't go inside of your component or inside of your group. We're just going to stay here in our main model space. Grab your rectangle tool, type R on your keyboard, and we're going to make the hour mark 1 inch by 4 inches. So 1 inch is going to be your left to right, and then 4 inches will be your up and down here. And then select the rectangle and all of its edges, so I'm double clicking it to grab all of that. Right click and make component. We're going to call this hour mark. And then I'm going to get it nice and centered. I'm going to move it to the 12 o'clock position. So right now my end point is on that center intersection. So I'm just going to grab my move tool and put the midpoint on that intersection. And then I'm going to move it up 1 foot to bring it to that 12 o'clock position. Okay. Now we're going to use that radial array that we learned earlier. So we're going to make 12 hour marks. So with your hour mark component, oh yeah, how far up did you put it? 1 foot. Yeah. Okay, so with your hour mark selected, again, we are not double clicking into the editing box. We just want to select it. So click it once. Activate the rotate tool. You can hit Q. And then we do want to be on the face of the clock here, so that's the, it should appear green for you. If you'd like to go ahead and hold down Shift just to make sure we stay locked. And then your starting point, the point that you're going to rotate about, is going to be the center of your clock, so at that intersection of your grid lines. Click once there. And then go ahead and click on your hour mark. And then we'll start to, oh, I forgot the control. There we go, I just hit control and now I've got copy activated. Start to bring it over and we're gonna go 360 degrees all the way around the clock. So type 360, enter. And then without doing anything else, \12, enter. That should have created you 12 total hour marks. Okay. We're on step number 5.
Can you do that one more time?
I absolutely can.
Can you start from the center?
From the center?
Yeah, the moving, because I tried reading it and I saw.
Yes. Okay. So this is where I started my hour mark. I'm going to move it to the center. So right now this end point is in the center. I want my midpoint to be in the center. So I'm typing M for move. Find that midpoint. SketchUp's telling me that's the midpoint in my hour mark. Move that point over to be at the intersection. So now we're centered in the middle of the clock. And then we are moving it up 1 foot, enter. And then we'll grab the rotate tool, make sure that your hour mark is still selected, and then hit Q for rotate. Click Control for copy. Find the center point of your circle, click once there, click once on your hour mark, start to bring it clockwise, and then type 360. Again, 360 is the degree that we're rotating, so we're doing full circle. 360, enter, and then the number that we want, \12, enter. Step number 5. We're going to model ourselves some clock hands. create two rectangles. One of them is going to be 2 inches wide by 10 inches long, and the other will be 2 inches wide by 6 inches long. So the longer one is the minute hand, the shorter one is the hour hand. So let's go ahead and create those. R for rectangle. Go ahead and start to create that. We're doing 2 by 10. And then I'm going to model another one here, maybe just on the side of it. And that one is 2 by 6. Okay, and then I'm going to make a group out of these. So I'll double click one, press and hold Control so that we are adding to our selection. Double click your other rectangle, right click, and make a group. So now you got those 2 rectangles together in a group. And then double click into that group. And let's just rotate them to whatever time you would like it to be. So I'll grab one rectangle, hit Q, grab my center point and an end point, and just rotate it however you'd like. My minutes are going to be 55. I'm going to move my hour hand into place. And if you're having trouble rotating that, it's because of that stickiness effect. So you can do one of two things. You can either have 2 separate groups for your hour and your minute hand, or you can just go ahead and rotate that hour hand first and then move it into place. And then we'll give these guys a little bit of thickness here. You can erase if you have any overlapping lines here, so that we've just got one continuous surface. And then push-pull it out just a little bit so that those hands have some thickness to them. And then click outside of the group to finish. I'm going to go ahead and delete my guidelines. So I'll go up to Edit, Delete Guides. And the very last thing we're going to do is give the clock a little bit of an edge and some thickness. So I'm going to double click into my clock face group. So I'm not in the hour mark, I'm not in my clock hands. I'm back on that original circle inside that group. So we're going to offset the edge outward 2 inches. So grab your offset tool, start to pull those edges outward and type 2, enter. And then I'm going to grab my push-pull tool for this center circle or original circle. And remember, if we just push-pull once, it's just moving that surface. So we want to keep our original surface and essentially copy another surface. So in that case, we need to hit Control and then bring that thickness back also 2 inches. So we hit control here so that we keep our original face and also have a back face. If we don't hit control, we'll lose our front face and it'll just move it to this back face. Click out of the group, and that'll be it.